Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and you've tuned into another live edition of the Locker Gnome Daily Report, streamed live every single weekday. It's usually a pretty long geek out with me. I hang out with some of my patrons. All of my patrons, of course, are invited to watch live and interact. A lot of what happens in the Locker Gnome Daily Report is defined by you. So if there's ever something that you want me to talk about, all you got to do is ask. And to do that, head over to chrispirillo.com and sign up to become a patron right now. Today's topic, as I usually dive pretty deep into a variety of topics every weekday in TLDR, today's topic is 3 reasons that the Windows Phone failed. I'm going to say this right now. Actually, I'm going to say a lot right now. It's still around, and we may yet see another iteration of the Windows Phone. But for all intents and purposes, the Windows Phone and the idea of the Windows Phone, in my estimation, looking at trends and looking at actual people who don't necessarily live in the Seattle area, that ship has sailed. There's nothing wrong with the Windows Phone platform. This isn't about slagging one platform and saying it's inferior. In fact, I've long said that Windows Phone, or the idea of what Windows Phone could be today, was about 10 years too late. And that's one of the reasons, probably the top reason, why most of the people who would like to be able to use a Windows Phone, and I know they can. They absolutely can. No one's saying they can't. No one's saying it's completely off the table. But I'm saying that right now, a lot more people are using Android or iOS. It's one of those two. Windows Phone is nowhere in the mix. 10 years too late. You might remember, if you've been following me for the past 20 years, that I was a huge fan of the Pocket PC. Huge fan of Windows Mobile, whatever they were calling it throughout the years. I migrated from a Windows device. It was like a Samsung Blackjack or Blackjack 2, I can't remember, to an iPhone. And that was it. That was it. So I have had experience with newer Windows phones as well, like with the Nokia combination with Windows Phone and Microsoft making an effort there. No one's saying that the phones are horrible. That's not it. That's not the reason why they didn't really take off. And they may still take off. I'm going to leave that, as an open door. There's absolutely a possibility. You can never, ever say, no, it's gone forever in technology, because that's not how technology works. It's always in this state of evolution, and industry changes and influence. So the first reason is that what Microsoft has in a Windows Phone platform or an operating system today would have been perfect back when the iPhone was launching. It would have been just, mind-blown types of experiences back then. Today, it's still a solid experience, but unfortunately, timing with technology is sometimes critical. And again, see, that's the thing. I'm not saying that it's a bad platform. I'm not going to say that at all, because I think the platform is absolutely solid from everything that I've used. And that doesn't mean that it's not, without its bugs. I mean, every platform has that. No one would sit there and say, well, it's better because of this. Yeah, but you've also got to look at the other side. And that's the same thing with any platform. So again, this is not a Windows, Microsoft, Redmond slagathon here. I'm just explaining to you why it's probably not going to bounce back, but it might. Going to leave that open. The second reason why the Windows Phone has kind of failed as of right now is because Android and iOS are good enough. Again, they're not without their flaws. I mean, they're solid ecosystems. There's nothing really that you can do on Android that you can't necessarily do on iOS, for the most part. Apps, are different sometimes, and the way you use the phone is different, but there's nothing really outright that users, like actual consumers who are using smartphones, are looking for that Android or iOS aren't delivering. So not only are you too late to the game with this platform, but unfortunately, the market's already being very well served, or served well enough. See, that's the thing. Now, you may sit there as a fan of the Windows Phone, and hey, more power to you, man. That's your fandom, man. I can't take anything away from you. Because again, it's not about the quality of the platform. When you've got an operating system, a platform, an experience that works well enough, there's really not much room for disruption. I mean, even if a phone has better specs, I think we all know by now that specs are largely irrelevant. It's just that's how it works. I don't want to go into this again because I've gone into it so many times and not just about any one platform. So the market's already being well served. The third reason that Windows Phone has failed at this point, which again isn't to say that it's not going to have a chance to bounce back, because there's some pretty cool features that I think are outstanding for people who are still using a PC, a traditional PC. But at this point, I am actually going to, hopefully I can pull this up, quote a ComScore report that happened over the weekend, really reported on Friday. Can I get to the archive here? Please tell me I can. Oh no, I can't find it. Oh, man, I should have made another note. I'm not blaming the iPhone. I'm blaming my fingers for not saving something. The news came out. ComScore reported that desktop use, we're talking about traditional personal computers, traditional, whether we're talking a Mac or a PC running Linux or Windows, traditional desktop use has declined again. And worse yet, for desktops, not only has it declined, but it's declined even more than the same period last year, which means that desktop use, as I've kind of been saying, has been happening, is doing this. Now, I'm not, again, saying that there's not space for a traditional PC. I'm not saying that. Hey, if you want to cling to the PC, to the bitter end, you go for it. In fact, one of the reasons I think the PC is going to survive, and even possibly a Windows PC survive, is because of gaming. And productivity, like hardcore productivity. But 90% of the marketplace is probably going to move on to a tablet type of PC or a phone. And it's not likely going to be a Windows phone. Because as much as it used to be the case, and this was something I argued back in the Windows Vista era, where the world needed Windows, now Windows needs the world. And that's a completely different shift in thinking and positioning. You don't need Windows to do things. You don't. You can do that in about, all you need anymore really is a web browser. For the most part. And there are exceptions to the rule, of course. I'm not going to sit here and say, now you can't, everything can't be done on Windows. No, because there are some programs that are developed with Windows in mind and developed for Windows, on Windows. Hell, I've still seen and interacted with business who still rely on DOS. Oh, that scares me. Or worse yet, they migrated their system from DOS, and it still has this command line interface looking GUI, and they migrated it to Windows. So they're in Windows, but they still have this text-based interface because of memory mapping. And, it's easy to remember keyboard shortcuts at one point to save productivity. So it's funny. DOS is never going to die. And I'm fine with that. I was a huge fan of DOS. I love DOS. The world doesn't need Windows anymore. Just doesn't. I think Microsoft knows this now. I really do. I think they're waking up to it. The world doesn't need a PC anymore. The world, generally speaking. I'm not saying everybody, again. Because I'm sure there's going to be some person who hasn't bothered to listen to anything I said. And ultimately, those are the people who comment, right? I didn't listen to what you said, but here's what I think. Or better yet, I didn't hear anything after you said the first thing, but you're wrong. Okay. That's your opinion, as this is mine. But I think there are 3 solid reasons why the Windows Phone is kind of in big trouble. Now, I'm not the only one to say this. That's not based on its lack of merit either. At all. It's too late. The alternatives are working well enough, and the world has kind of moved on from the idea of Windows and what Windows can do for them. And Microsoft, I mean, hey, trust me, I want them to succeed as much as anything. I love good competition. Love it. Need competition. And they're doing some awesome things. Absolutely. No doubt about it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that what they produce is going to be a commercial success. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to, those are 3 reasons. Because people ask all the time, why did you switch to Windows Phone? Well, there's a lot of reasons. Those are just a few. My top 3, really. And again, you're free to agree or disagree. Ultimately, that's up to you. I don't care. I care about you, but, people disagree with me all the time. It doesn't stop me from sharing my opinion. And you know what? I'm kind of right a lot when it comes to this tech stuff. I've got 20 years of experience talking about this stuff and kind of being correct. So that's it. That's that topic. Normally I dive deep into this kind of thing, like a tech topic or whatever, every weekday. So if you want to hear me geek out about, let's say tomorrow, I may talk about why Windows Phone could succeed. See, I could argue the other side too. I could easily do that, but that would be for patrons, because patrons get everything. They get all 5 of the TLDRs produced every week. You just get fractions of them for free. But hey, you want to hear me do more of this kind of thing? I'm happy to do it. All you got to do is head over to chrispirillo.com. I'm going to move on to a slightly less controversial topic. One that I'm kind of excited about. I went geek antiquing this weekend, and wow, I am addicted. I'm about to lay down some retro stuff in Pirillo picks. Gonna do that live as a part of TLDR. You can watch that if you want to. Maybe you don't care about the past. Maybe you only believe in the future. Okay, well, those who don't remember the past are doomed to repeat the mistakes that they made in the past. Everything I picked up, I think, wasn't a mistake, though. That's cool. Gonna do a haul now. You want more from me? Head over to chrispirillo.com and become a patron. But right now, it's time for Pirillo Picks. Today's free podcast highlight was brought to you by all of my active patrons from chrispirillo.com. If you want access to the full TLDR episodes, both audio, video, past, present, and future, which can be up to an hour long or longer, with even more tech insight from me every weekday, plus other bonus content without ads, and supporting me at the same time, you can sign up to become one of my supernomies too. This is just a brief taste of what I'm producing for you daily. Again, get more through chrispirillo.com.